I'm going to call to order this Lacey City Council meeting on April 12th, 2018. Can everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we have a packed agenda tonight, but I do have a couple amendments. I would move that we amend the agenda to add item number 6C, the Earth Month Proclamation, and to add item number 16 to adjourn to a work session for public parks survey. Can I get a second?
I move that we accept the agenda as amended.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. We have an agenda. And first up on our agenda is our Arbor Day Celebration. As many of you may know, the city of Lacey was one of the first communities in Washington to be designated a Tree City USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation. And this evening, we're marking our 27th consecutive year to receive the award. Since first earning this award in the early 1990s, Lacey has invested more than $7 million on tree planting and care, and we've distributed nearly 32,000 free tree seedlings to our residents. We're extremely proud that Lacey features more than 6,000 formal street trees along our roadways and boulevards. And we're equally proud that our community maintains more than 1,200 acres of parkland and open spaces, creating one of the largest municipal park systems in the South Puget Sound, and much of it permanently preserving large areas of natural forest. In recognition of these urban forestry accomplishments and the importance of trees in our community, we'd like to read the following proclamation.
City of Lacey Official Proclamation. Whereas in 1872, Sterling Morgan proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees, and
whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and
whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and
Whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cutting heat and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife, and
whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products, and
whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community.
Now therefore, I, Andy Ryder, Mayor of the City of Lacey, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2018 as Arbor Month in the City of Lacey. And I encourage all citizens to support efforts to care for our trees and woodlands and to plant trees to provide beautification for future generations to enjoy. Signed myself, Andy Ryder, April 12th, 2018. We also have a long Arbor Day tradition of exchanging a special arbor tree with the City of Yelm. Mayor Foster, can you please come forward? Mayor? On behalf of the citizens of Lacey, I'm really honored to be able to present you this white dogwood tree to the citizens of Yelm, and we hope you will enjoy it for many years to come.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. May I say a few words?
Please do.
Because I don't like to, I'm sort of shy, but I don't like to avoid a microphone. I seem to have this effect on Lacey City Council meetings. Didn't this happen last year?
I think so.
Thank you all for showing up for our tree. I appreciate that very much. The trick is, anybody got a truck? I don't think that's going to fit in my Durango on the way home. So maybe your Public Works Department can meet my Public Works Department somewhere in the middle, because on April 27th, we invite the mayor and anybody else from the council who would like to join us out at our Arbor Day Celebration in Yelm, where we will be planting a tree in our new community garden adjacent to the community center in our city park. So last year, the tree that you gave us, I appreciated very much, and I planted it in a secret location in Yelm. And I challenged the council to come out, and if you could find it, I would buy you lunch. But there were no takers. So that stands, and of course, if you come out on the 27th, we will show you great honor and respect for coming out to our meeting as well. We have been a Tree City in Yelm for 22 years, so we're catching up with you. But I dare say that we may have beaten you on our first Arbor Day celebration, which was in 1924. So found the plaque today. Wow. That original tree is long gone, but in the meantime, we have also planted thousands of trees within Yelm, and we really appreciate the sister city sharing of trees between us. So very much appreciated, and I'll see you all in April 27th. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Well, thank you, Mayor Foster, for participating in this long-standing tradition. We also had 40 energetic young people from the Lacey Spring Break Day Camp to undertake a special Arbor Day planting project. So I'd like to invite, I think Kim Jones is here from our Water Resource Department to come forward and tell us about the project. Please do.
Good evening. My name is Darcy Bird, and I am pleased to introduce you all to Lily, Kylie, and Sydney, who are 3 representatives of our 44 summer day campers who came out and helped us plant at Woodland Creek Community Park here in Lacey. So we've been planting in Woodland Creek Community Park for a very long time. And what we are trying to accomplish there is we're trying to build up the riparian buffer to improve water quality in that stream. So when we take the campers out, the first thing we do is we teach them how to dig a hole. And so there's a lot of teamwork involved. So a lot of kids helping each other out. And at this day camp, we also had a young counselor helping teach kids how to dig holes, so that's always fun. Because when we bring these campers out, sometimes this is their first time being out and getting to explore nature in this way. We also found countless worms. The kids love counting those worms. While we were out, we planted Douglas fir, mock orange, ocean spray, Oregon grape, and thimbleberry. These are all native plants to the ecosystem here, and these plants will help build up that riparian buffer so that stream ecosystem stays healthy. So we had a lot of teamwork putting those plants into the holes. A lot of these kids worked in groups of 2 or 3, showing just how much going out into the environment and doing these planting events builds community and builds teamwork. And then the final step in this is we put these blue tubes on to protect these plants, and then we mulch, and we had a huge mulching party. We were out there mulching for quite a while, and at the end of it all, we got together for some group pictures and took a really silly one at the end. So if this is something that sounds fun to you, this is part of Stream Team in the city of Lacey. Stream Team goes out and we then water these plants over the summer. And we have more planting events coming up in the fall and next spring as well. And we have a huge MLK Day event that's always out there, and it's always a ton of fun. So if you like planting, come out with us at Stream Team. I have some newsletters and magnets up in the corner if you're interested. Awesome. That's all I have.
Great. Thank you, Darcy, and thank you all for your outstanding work. And you should really be proud of all the contributions you've made towards making Lacey an even more beautiful place to live. And now, Cody Lee from our recreation coordinator in our Parks and Recreation Department. Is going to share some highlights about our Saturday's Arbor Seedling giveaway.
Thank you for letting me come and talk about our Arbor Day Seedling giveaway. It's this Saturday at Hunnemer Park from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. or until all of our trees are gone. We're going to be giving out 5 different species of tree. There's the golden rain tree, scarlet oak, Chinese Kusa dogwood, the purple smoke tree, and the Douglas fir. Each individual that comes out will get a free tree, and it's a great event. We have a great sponsorship with Great Western Supply and the Barn Nursery. They supply soil and pots, so you get to take your tree home in a pot. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think it might be a little wet out there. Hopefully the rain can hold off between 10 and 1, but it's a great event, and I suggest you guys all come out. I know some of our council members and Mayor Ryder's been out there, and it's a fun afternoon, and the kids really get excited about getting trees. And
Great. Thank you, Cody, and thank you for everyone that was here today to help us support our outstanding support for our trees in our community. Appreciate it.
thank you.
So next up on our agenda is our Compassion is Contagious celebration. Jenny, you come forward. Is Jenny here? I just saw her.
Jenny?
Nice save.
Steve, is Jenny in the other room? I'll do this part. She'll get
Great.
Good evening. I'm Candace Bach, Director of Administrative Services, and while Jenny does all of the hard work for this program, I get to be the one up here talking about the amazing efforts of some community members who really demonstrate compassion in Lacey. So tonight is our first Compassion is Contagious recognition for 2018. We're proud to recognize 2 volunteer groups from our community whose efforts have exemplified the true spirit of compassion in Lacey and throughout Thurston County. First up, our first award recognition for this evening is to the members of the Lacey Sunrise Lions Club, well represented here tonight in purple. This group of volunteers truly embodies the heart of compassion and what it means to give back to the community. Their list of contributions is long, and their efforts to help others over the years is extensive. A few highlights include participating in United Way's Day of Caring, Adopt a Roadway, building wheelchair ramps for homeowners in need, and working with Habitat for Humanity, displaying hundreds of American flags along our major streets for national holidays, sponsoring Boy Scouts, and much, much more. At this time, I'd like to introduce Terry Story. He's Lacey Sunrise Lions Club president, to tell you more about their efforts.
Thank you. And I don't think I'll need this. Lacey Sunrise Lions Club. We have 94 members. We meet at Hawks Prairie Restaurant every Thursday morning at 7:30, from 7:30 to 8:30. The projects that we do are many. The big one that we're being recognized, I think, for here tonight is our flag project. All those flags that you see put up in the city of Lacey on holidays are put up, maintained, and cared for by Lacey Sunrise Lions Club. And we're proud to do it and happy to do it, hoping that everyone enjoys it. Some of the other things that we do is we sponsor 2 Boy Scout troops, a Girl Scout troop, and this year we're doing something more. We've done it we started it quite a while ago, but we're having a golf tournament this year. This is our 4th annual, and always before, all of our money has gone towards scholarships for North Thurston School District seniors. Last year we gave out 4 $1,000 scholarships. This year, along with the scholarships, we're helping support Project New Hope. Project New Hope is something that most of you may not be aware of. It's when soldiers come back from wherever they've been sent off to, we take them and their families on a weekend retreat to counsel them on PTSD. We're one of the few people groups that have really recognized what PTSD is and what it does and try to work with it. We also do a lot of other things. I could go on, but I don't want to be up here all night. So I'll give this back to you.
Terry, before you go, it's really my honor on behalf of the Lacey City Council and citizens of Lacey to present your group with this 2018 Compassion is Contagious Recognition Award. I think you guys are starting to collect these pretty well. So thank you so much for all you do. You guys really make Lacey who we are. And, you know, every time you go out, see the flag, see all the work that you do, I think it's really a great symbol of the wonderful leadership we have here and the wonderful groups and the people that care so much about our community. And it makes me so proud to be here and be able to recognize you for all the work you do.
You know, we're starting a project called Flags Over Lacey, where we are going to put up something in the neighborhood of 800 flags.
Wow.
And they'll be up for a longer period of time, starting May the 5th.
That's great. That's wonderful. Here's your award. And can we get everyone to come up? Everyone come up here, so we'd like to shake your hand. Council would like to shake your hand. Everyone.
Good job. Yes. Thank you
How much I love you guys doing what you guys do. I'm gonna have to come down for Thursday breakfast so you guys can tell me all about it. Just maybe sign me up for membership. Serious? Yeah. 93 is breakfast?
We're also very fortunate to have another group that we're going to recognize tonight with our Compassionate Community Award. Our second group is the Volunteers of Rebuilding Together Thurston County. Founded in 2003, Rebuilding Together Thurston County is an affiliate of Rebuilding Together USA. This nonprofit organization provides free home repairs and handicap modifications for low-income homeowners in nonprofit facilities. Throughout the Thurston County communities, these volunteers have helped homeowners who are elderly, disabled, families with children, and veterans in need. The amount of hours that this group has donated is truly commendable and inspiring. At this time, I'd like to introduce Kathy Johnson, Board President, to tell you more about the services that they provide. Thank you, Kathy.
My son always kids me that sooner or later I'm going to be tall enough that I don't have to move the podium speaker. So thank you so much for honoring us tonight with this award. It means so much to us. We've worked very hard to be a critical part of the community and make improvements with it. So as the introduction was made, we do work with low-income homeowners in our county. And for so many of our homeowners, they're in their homes, they're in their community, they know their neighbors, and they want to stay there. They know if their grocery store's down the street, they know how to get to their doctor and their church, and their support system is right there. And so we try to keep them in their homes and keep them comfortable in their homes, safe, warm, and dry. Let's see if I can work this here. There we go. We already talked. We actually started as a national organization in Midland, Texas in the 1970s, where neighbors looked at neighbors and realized they needed a helping hand, and they painted, they worked on their siding, they built wheelchair ramps at absolutely no charge. And we were originally called Christmas in April because some of the homeowners that we helped said, hey, this feels like Christmas, and it's April. And so in 2001, we were rebranded to Rebuilding Together. So with our group, we're all volunteers. We absolutely love what we're doing, and we like the fact that we're making a difference in our community. And we do repairs all year round. So our big project of the year is Rebuilding Day. And on that day, we do major home projects, things where we need a lot of volunteers and a lot of supplies. This year, we're doing 6 projects for Rebuilding Day. We're doing homes in Rochester, Lacey, Olympia, and Tumwater on Rebuilding Day. And then all through the year, we do critical repairs. So a couple years ago, we received a CIP grant, and that founded our first critical repairs program where we, instead of waiting for Rebuilding Day to have hot running water and heat, we'll go out and do those repairs for people on an emergency basis. And we have lots of dedicated volunteers. Lacey Presbyterian, United Methodist Church, they're fantastic volunteers with us. We just started a partnership with Catholic Community Services to refer clients back and forth and help them. And then we have, on Rebuilding Day, we typically have anywhere between 200 and 300 people helping with projects. So we have great community effort. And so our goal for our community is that everyone be safe and warm and that they're comfortable in their homes and they can age in place. Most of our clients, 75% of our clients are women. Many of our clients have been in their homes 20 plus years. They're 62 years and older. They've been in their home, they know their community, and now they're in a situation where maybe their spouse has died and he or she was the one who did a lot of the honeydew projects around the house because they're now relying on one income. They don't have the money to do the repairs, and they don't know how, and so they can call us, and we can help them. We rely on the HUD low-income guidelines with our clients, and we're totally nonprofit. So our goal is to repair homes and revitalize communities and rebuild lives. And why do our clients need help? And why do we help them? It's because we want them to be safe and comfortable in their community, and we want them to stay in their community. And most people, when they're in need, they'd rather stay in their home than couch surf, live in a car, and be on the street. So we're, in many ways, the final step for people before they become homeless. And many of them are invisible for their needs because they don't live on the street, they aren't in their car, and they want to stay in their home, and they're quiet about it. They don't know where to turn, and they can turn to us. And many of our repairs, hot water tanks, furnaces, weatherization, grab bars, wheelchair ramps, painting, decks, stairs, porches. We have a lot of, our technical term is squishy floors. So something that's been a leak for a long time and now their floor is compromised. And we have an awful lot of low-income people, people who are living on $8,000 to $15,000 a year. So you can see the need that we serve in the community. So Rebuilding Day we do our critical repairs program, and then we're also doing fall projects now, bigger projects. And where do we get our money? CDBG, CIP, fundraisers in the community. We bartended for the Lacey Veterans Hub last year, and we'll be bartending again this year, so please have a drink on us, or for us, and we get individual donations. So thank you very much. We really appreciate the honor. We like to help the community, and we're just delighted to be here tonight. So thank you.
Great. Well, once again, on behalf of the Lacey City Council and the citizens of Lacey, it's my honor and privilege to be able to present you with this 2018 Compassion is Contagious Recognition Award. Lacey, we have a really high retirement population here. And I believe aging in place is one of the biggest issues facing our community in the next 10, 15 years. And so it really takes organizations like Rebuilding Thurston to be able to step in and meet the critical needs before it turns into a complete disaster for our seniors. And, and everyone can be in this situation where it's been, status quo for a long time, something changes, and you're not only dealing with grief, but now something happens, like your hot water doesn't turn on, and what do? And so be able to turn to an organization like yours is just an amazing asset to have, and we just really want to thank you for everything you do for our community. Thank you so much. There you go. And could everyone from your organization come up?
And I just want to, again, recognize all of the volunteers that are here tonight and all of the amazing work that they do, and invite our award recognition folks to join us in the executive conference room next door for a brief reception. Thank you. Just
Right now?
Right now.
So hopefully everyone heard that. We're going to have a quick reception next door. Yeah, I think everyone's getting next door for that.
I don't know if the people from Rebuilding heard you.
Does people from Rebuilding Thurston know that next door we're having a quick reception? I think so. So next on our agenda is public comments on items not on the agenda. We do have one person who signed up. Malcolm, from TCAT, would you like to come forward? And is Malcolm here? This is public comment on items not on our agenda. Oh, great. You state your name and where you're from, and please keep your comments about 3 minutes.
Starting now.
Just your full name and where you're from.
My name is Malcolm Miller, and I am a Lacey resident. I represent the Thurston County Coalition Against Trafficking, at least tonight I do, and these are my fellow coalition members, Mary and Francis. The Thurston County Coalition, our mission is to eradicate trafficking within Thurston County. We partner with some other counties in doing the same thing, but our primary focus is Thurston County. There is more trafficking in Thurston County than you know, but because of the internet, it's kind of low-key now, a little more low-key than it was, and we are working on eradicating that trafficking. Last year, Tumwater Police did a sting. They arrested 23 people trying to buy sex from minors. And those are just the 23 that were dumb enough to get caught. This is a big problem, and we're trying to fix it, and we need as much help as we can get from the community, from you guys. So thank you for having us and allowing us to speak here tonight. What the Washington State Patrol told us, the people who did this sting, they told us that, you know, if they did a sting every day, they could arrest this amount of people every day. That's how big this problem is. And we have come to the conclusion with their help that prevention is going to go a whole lot further than arresting people. And so there is a program that we are trying to get into Thurston County schools. We have the blessing of the school districts. We've been to all the school district meetings. We've spoken with all the superintendents. In fact, we speak to them so much we're on a first name basis with them. The program that we're trying to institute that they are in agreement with is called the Youth Empowerment Program. And we will roll this out in Thurston County schools. What this is going to do is it's going to show kids how to recognize the signs of trafficking, what to look for, who to stay away from, how to report it. They'll be able to recognize if a friend is being trafficked, if they're seeing it. It's kind of like a car. You don't see a car until you own the car, and then you see it all the time, right? Same thing happens with trafficking. You don't know what's happening right around you unless you know what to look for. The #1 trafficking day of the year in the United States is the same day every year, and we think of it as a sporting event, but law enforcement officials think of it as trafficking day, and that is the Super Bowl. More trafficking happens at the Super Bowl than any other event, any day, any place, every year. And so in order to implement this program into the school, we need $40,000 to purchase the intellectual materials and to be able to hire the trainers to be able to do this. And so what we've done is we've put together our 3rd annual 5K race. It's happening in Tumwater on April 28th at 9 a.m. And we would love for you guys to come out and support that. And you know what, if any of you feel like you want to write a check for $40,000, that's good too. You know, if the Lord puts that on your heart, absolutely, let us rejoice together. I can preach a message about that. So if you guys I'll leave some touch cards here at the back of the room, and I'll leave some sponsorship packets if you feel led to sponsor, if you feel led to race, if you want to walk, that's fine. Every cent of the proceeds is going to go towards the program that we are trying to put into the school system, which we already have the blessing of the school system. I know time is running out. There was one more thing. I can't think of it, so that's going to be it.
Great.
Thank you for listening. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. Is there anyone else from the public wishing to comment on any items not on the agenda? Seeing none, next on our agenda is our proclamations, and we have 3 of them. First up is the Month of the Military Child.
City of Lacey official proclamation. Whereas thousands of brave Americans demonstrate their courage and commitment to freedom by serving the armed forces of the United States, both on active duty and in the National Guard and Reserves, and
whereas the City of Lacey recognizes the selfless acts of service performed by its brave members of the military and their devoted families, and
whereas approximately 20% of children in North Thurston Public Schools have parents who served or are currently serving in the military, either on active duty, in the National Guard, or reserves and living in Lacey, and
whereas these children and youth are a source of pride and honor to our community, and it is only fitting that we take time to recognize their contributions, celebrate their spirit, and let our men and women in uniform know that while they are taking care of us, we are taking care of their children. And
whereas since 1986, communities around the world have celebrated the month of military child throughout the month of April, allowing us to pay tribute to military children and youth for their commitment, their struggles, and their unconditional support of our troops, because then parents serve in the military, their kids are heroes too. And
whereas a month-long salute to military children and youth will encourage the local community to provide direct support to military children and families.
Now, therefore, I, Andy Ryder, do hereby proclaim April 2018 as Month of the Military Child, and invite all the City of Lacey citizens to honor military children by wearing purple each Friday in April, and urge all to observe this month by connecting with military youth, families, and communities to provide support to all military children. Signed, myself, Mayor Andy Ryder, on April 12th, 2018. And wearing purple will be easy for me because the Rams are my alma mater. So that being said, can Karen come up and accept this from the North Thurston Public Schools?
thank you.
Here's the proclamation, and please.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your proclamation. As you shared, 20% of the students in North Thurston Public Schools have parents that serve on active duty. And because our district recognizes that, as again you indicated in the proclamation, that children serve too, we do have 2 full-time staff members that are dedicated to provide support and promote activities across our district to support our military-connected youth. And so we thank you, and as a token of our appreciation and to help you, for those of you maybe that weren't North Thurston Ram students, we do have Month of the Military Child lanyards to share with you. This is Adrian Perez, our military support staff, and Colleen Moldenauer, who is our district military liaison. In addition, Colleen will be sharing with you a handout with information about the activities and events that are happening across our district in our schools, and certainly welcome and invite you to attend any as your schedule allows. So thank you so much, and we greatly appreciate your support in honoring our students our military-connected students during this Month of the Military Child.
Thank you so much. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. It looks like there's a lot of activities throughout April for the month of the military child. So next up on our proclamations is our Equal Pay Day proclamation.
City of Lacey Official Proclamation. Whereas, more than 50 years after the passage of the Equal Pay Act, women, especially minority women, continue to suffer the consequences of unequal pay, and
whereas, according to statistics released in 2017 by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, year-round full-time working women in 2016 earned only 82% of the earnings of year-round full-time working men, indicating little change or progress in pay equity, and
whereas according to the U.S. Census Bureau, the median income of women in Lacey was $36,539, 73% of the median income of men in Lacey, which was $50,000, and
whereas a lifetime of lower pay means women have less income to save for retirement and less income counted in a Social Security or pension benefit formula, and
whereas fair pay strengthens the security of families today and eases future retirement costs while enhancing the American economy, and
whereas Tuesday, April 10th, symbolizes the time in 2018 when the wage paid to American women catch up to the wages paid to men from the previous year.
Now, therefore, I, Mayor Andy Ryder, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, April 10th, 2018 as Equal Pay Day in the City of Lacey and urge citizens to recognize the full value of women's skills and significant contributions to the labor force. Sign myself, Mayor Andy Ryder, on April 10th, 2018. And can Sherry please come forward to receive this proclamation? Is Sherry here? Yes. Okay. Here you go. Great. Here you go.
Thank you very much.
Please.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Mayor Ryder, Lacey City Council members, Lacey City Council, Lacey staff, and community members and visitors. My name is Karen Hall. I am a member of the YWCA of Olympia's Advocacy Committee. On behalf of the YWCA of Olympia, Zonta Club of Olympia, Seroptimists of Olympia, Women United of Thurston County, and ICSCW, we are delighted to be here tonight to recognize Equal Pay Day 2018, which was April 10th. We sincerely like to thank the City of Lacey for recognizing this important day through the City Proclamation for making pay equity a public priority. Equal Pay Day is a symbolic day where women's earnings, which is today estimated at 80 cents to a man's dollar nationally, finally catch up to a man's earnings from the previous year. In other words, women have to work an additional 3 months and 10 days to earn the same wages. This wage gap still exists. Women hold almost half the jobs and the majority of college degrees, yet a typical woman working full-time in Washington earns roughly 77 cents to a man's dollar. And while the Equal Pay Act was passed 50 years ago, women, especially women of color, continue to suffer significant consequences of unequal pay. As a conservative estimate, Asian women working full-time make 90 cents for every dollar paid to their white, non-Hispanic male counterparts. White women make 80% of the male earnings nationally. Black and African American women make 68%. Hispanic and Latina women make 62%. Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Island women make 59%. And Native American women make 57%. This means their Equal Pay Day is not April 10th. It is in November. To make the same earnings, these women must work 1 year plus 10 months and several days. In other words, Equal Pay Day is really Equal Pay Year. So why do we care? A lifetime of lower pay means women have less income to save for retirement and less income counted on Social Security or pension benefits formula. Further, 4 in 10 mothers are the main source of income for their families, and nearly 2/3 are primary or significant earners, making pay equity critical to families' economic security. Unequal pay hits families in the pocketbook and slows down our economy. The average Washington woman working full-time brings home $13,800 less each year than the average man. That keeps families strapped, reducing spending in the local businesses in Lacey. That explains why approximately 18% of our state's children live in poverty. It also limits a woman's ability to invest in education, starting a business, and less retirement income and expenditures. The pay gap is not simply not initial. I apologize. The pay gap isn't simply a national issue. It affects us all here in Thurston County and Lacey as well. This is a significant long-term problem for our community to solve. It has direct consequences for the Lacey labor market, our regional economy, and our quality of life. Further, wage inequity conflicts with our mission and value of social equity, inclusion, and fairness. An Equal Day Proclamation is a good first step in acknowledging that unequal pay continues to be a challenge facing women, particularly women of color in our community. It will take all organizations and clubs, municipalities, and businesses to bring about workplace pay equity. Tonight, we thank the City of Lacey and invite you to continue the work for pay equity for all. And doing so, you will strengthen the economy and economic status of stability and women and men and families that call Thurston County and the City of Lacey their home.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And last but not least, we have an Earth Day proclamation, Earth Month proclamation.
Go. City of Lacey official proclamation. Whereas Earth Day was created 48 years ago, recognizing the importance for everyone to protect the planet on which we live, and
whereas all life forms on Earth have a right to a healthy, sustainable environment, and
whereas all of us, as inhabitants of our planet, have an obligation to be mindful of the factors that contribute to climate change and environmental degradation, and to preserve the Earth's beauty as well as its resources, and
whereas this obligation extends not only to today's generation, but also to the future generations who will inherit our planet from us, and
whereas Lacey exemplifies the ethos of Earth Month by its continued commitment to Tree City USA and by promoting and distributing seedlings to citizens of Lacey, and
whereas as we proclaim Earth Month, we recognize our obligation to live up to the significance of environmental stewardship every day, and
now therefore, I, Mayor Andy Ryder, City of Lacey, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2018 as Earth Month in the City of Lacey. And I encourage all citizens to be aware of their impacts on our environment and to participate in stewardship opportunities to preserve our local resources. So myself, Mayor Andy Ryder, April 12th, 2018. And can Abigail and David come up? Thank you. Please.
So my name is Abigail Lameau. This is Bailana Anderson and Bree. So we are both from different, so I am the president of the biology club here at St. Martin's. She's my vice president, and Bree has been organizing a climate action conference that is happening this Saturday. And this is really an honor, especially since we are neighbors, to come here and accept this proclamation on behalf of the biology club at St. Martin's. So biology club, our goal is to encourage students to get involved in the sciences, to foster undergraduate research opportunities, and to really get involved in the community. So this year, our main goal is we are putting on a Wild and Scenic Environmental Film Festival on April 26th. This is a on-tour program that is a part of a home festival, which is the largest environmental film festival in the U.S. And so it's really to encourage local organizations to come together. And so we actually have 10 or so local environmental organizations, sustainable organizations that will be at our event tabling to give the people that are coming opportunities to get involved in stewardship programs and really learn what is going on in Lacey, Olympia, Tumwater area that they can help out with. So thank you so much. This is a wonderful opportunity and a real honor for us.
Thank you. So next up on our agenda is the mayor's report. And I have a couple recommendations. First, I'd recommend appointment to Amy Blondin to the Lacey Library. Can I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second to appoint Amy to the library board. Is there any discussion? Is Amy here? Yes, there she is. You want to come up and introduce yourself? Didn't see you there in the back.
Packed house. I didn't quite expect that. I'm Amy Blondin. I'm about a 15-year Lacey resident along with my husband. We have 2 school-aged children and are frequent patrons of our local library. We consider it a real community treasure. And so when I heard that there was a position coming open, I jumped at the opportunity to serve my community this way.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion carries, and we'll welcome Amy to our library board. And next up, I have a recommendation to appoint Sarah 30-Acre to our Historic Commission.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is Sarah here? Oh, there you are, right there. Can you please come forward?
Hello, good evening. Thanks for having me, Mayor Ryder and Council. My name's Sarah 30-Acre. I've been a Lacey resident for the past 16 years. I've spent the last 20 years working in the natural resource sciences, and the last bit of my career has been in cultural and historic resources. So when I saw the opportunity to serve in my city, I was really excited about that. I spend a lot of time doing this work throughout the state and not so much here at home. So I look forward to serving on this committee or commission. Thanks.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to appoint Sarah to the Historic Commission. Is there any further discussion? I just want to say, I think it's wonderful that you've applied and are getting involved. You have obviously really strong connection with the Nisqually tribe, which we have an accord with, and we're really looking forward to working with the tribe as we make some progress on our new museum, which we're going to hopefully dedicate a portion of that museum to the Nisqually tribe. So it's great to be able for you to have that connection, and we can work together on this really what's going to be a big part of our Lacey's history and that we celebrate through our museum. So that being said, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
If I may, Mr. Mayor,
please.
I'd just like to say that the Nisqually tribe's history is our history and vice versa. So that's a great idea with the museum.
Yep. Great, thank you.
If I could also add, Sarah, look out, because that's how Mayor Ryder got his start, was on the Historical Commission.
True. So that's the end of my report. City Manager.
Honorable Mayor and City Council, we have a couple items before you. I'm going to pinch hit for Mr. Rick Walk. So there is before you is a climate action plan, which is an interlocal agreement with Thurston County and the cities of Olympia and Tumwater. We had a work session on this topic. The idea really is that even though the city of Lacey has a climate action plan that's been approved, City of Olympia has something similar. Tumwater has done some mitigation efforts for their climate. The idea was to have an assessment of what all the jurisdictions have done in this field and then come back with a scope of work that the jurisdictions can agree to and then work on a collaboration or some collaborative effort on that. The total cost to the City of Lacey will be just under $5,000. The total cost will be about $20,000. And so with that, I'd ask a recommendation to authorize signature to this interlocal agreement.
So I move that we authorize the city manager to execute the interlocal agreement between the City of Lacey, City of Olympia, City of Tumwater, Thurston County, and Thurston Regional Planning Council for Phase 1 of Regional Climate Mitigation Planning.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to authorize the city manager to execute this interlocal agreement. Is there any discussion?
Just briefly, Mr. Mayor, I think this is a great opportunity to also look into how our solid waste is collected and our recycling programs are done. And many people know I'm spearheading, or at least getting the discussion talk to how better we could do that as a city and even save our citizens money at the same time.
Great. Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Please.
Just like to add, I'm so excited to see this collective effort on this. It's such a huge topic, and I think we're starting to get some forward momentum, so it's great.
Any other discussion? This is, I'm really actually proud that we're here and we're about ready to sign this interlocal. This is no small feat. And this is something that, the three cities have been talking about for quite a while on how can we better coordinate. And to tell you the truth, in many circumstances, the other jurisdictions in the county is trying to catch up to where we're at here in the city of Lacey. We've actually already passed a CR2 mitigation plan, reduction plan, and there's been a lot of great work that we've already adopted several years ago. Now some of that work needs to be updated, and we're looking to do that through this plan. But be able to work together on a regional basis, I think we all recognize this is a really big issue. It's tough to be able to do it on, make any sort of progress as a single jurisdiction. And so be able to combine our efforts. And the fact that Thurston County has stepped up and wants to be a part of this process, I think really is a good sign for all of our residents living in Thurston County. So it's been moved and seconded to authorize the city manager to execute this interlocal agreement between the city of Lacey, Olympia, Tumwater, Thurston County, and Thurston Regional Planning Council for phase 1 of the regional climate mitigation planning. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
We have another item before council, which is a cable franchise negotiation interlocal agreement, and Steve Kirkman will provide the background on that.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you this evening is an interlocal agreement proposal that involves Thurston County, the cities of Lacey, Olympia, and Tumwater to enter into an interlocal agreement to share the cost of a Comcast cable franchise or just a cable franchise consultant to help with upcoming negotiation. The changing nature of telecommunications and the changing federal landscape with telecommunication and cable regulations makes it a good idea to have somebody that's an expert on what's happening most recently in that market to help us with that negotiation process. The fees for those types of consultants, because it is a specialized area, can run between $40,000 and $120,000. Since the 4 jurisdictions all have franchises expiring within about 6 months of each other, we thought it would be a good idea to just a negotiating group and kind of share that cost, because a lot of it would be common to each franchise. We'll be splitting we recommend splitting the costs on a per capita or per subscriber basis, actually. So Lacey would be paying about 19% of the total, which is approximately $107,000. So Lacey's share would be about $20,500. The agreement was reviewed by the Public Safety and General Government Committee on the 27th of March. The committee has recommended that the full council approve and have the city manager sign. So I think I will just pause there and respond to comments or questions.
Move to authorize the city manager to enter into the proposed interlocal agreement to share costs for a cable franchise consultant.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Councilmember?
Having worked in the cable industry for a number of years, I think the plan to share the cost and to hire a consultant is appropriate, especially, like you say, given these complicated communication times. So I think it's a good move.
Deputy Mayor?
I'm really supportive of having a consultant do some of the negotiation as well. I think this is beneficial for all 3 jurisdictions, and Thurston County.
Great. Is there any other discussion? I'm usually not a big fan of spending money on consultants. However, this is a big deal. And I think obviously working together with all the other jurisdictions makes a lot of sense. So it's been moved and seconded to sign this, renegotiate the city's cable franchise with Comcast Communications Management and enter into this local agreement. All in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you.
Council, we have one more interlocal agreement, 3 in a row. So we have an Emergency Management Council interlocal agreement, and Scott Ager, our Public Works Director, will provide the background on that.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Staff recommends that the council authorize city manager to sign the 2013 Thurston County Emergency Management Agreement. We discussed this at the council work session last week. for whatever reason, the 2013 agreement was not circulated to all the agencies, so Lacey's signature did not get on it. We need to have that document signed in order for the 2018 renewal to be in effect. So if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them for you.
Motion, please.
I'd move to authorize the city manager to approve signature of the 2013 original 5-year interlocal agreement for the Thurston County EMC.
Second.
It's been moved and second to authorize city manager to approve the signature of the 2013 original 5-year interlocal agreement for the Thurston County EMC. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, just for clarification, the 2013, we actually did this. It was basically just a misstep, right? We just missed the signature on that because we've already approved the 2018
Correct.
continuation of this, correct?
So actually, these agreements started in 1993, and there's just been this annual renewal process. And for whatever reason, in 2013, it didn't reach it to all of the jurisdictions like Lacey. So our signature isn't on the document. But basically, this group, there's emergency manager from each of the local jurisdictions. They meet monthly to strategize emergency management. The current fee for this is less than $500 per year. So it's not a complicated or extensive or large ILA by any means. But yeah, it was just a glitch in the process.
Thank you.
I know legal has looked at this, and I know we've talked about this, but it just seems to me that we're signing an old 2013 agreement where the mayors were the signatory of that agreement. And now we're going back and trying to change that signatory line to add the city manager instead of the mayor. When every other signature line shows all the mayors on that, it just seems a little.
So the city of Lacey's always had the city manager sign interlocal agreements except for very rare circumstances. I don't recall with specificity this particular interlocal agreement and who drafted it. I've seen several of them that have had, some of the, Olympia, for example, until the last year has had their mayor sign interlocals. And so when these documents circulate, oftentimes the word mayor is written for the city of Lacey's signature line. That doesn't necessarily mean the mayor needs to sign it. It's just that whoever drafted it put that word there in lieu of. So it is appropriate for the city manager to sign this.
Great, thank you. It's been so weird looking back at that old document and seeing all the old signatures. Obviously, I don't think anyone's in office from back there, or very few are in office still then.
Just a quick question on that. Does it have to do with the form of government? So for instance, where you have a strong mayor as opposed to a council manager form?
It does. And Olympia's, even though they're a city manager form of government, council manager form of government, just historically, they've just always had the mayor sign interlocals. And they've recently recognized that it probably should have been the city manager, and now they do have the city manager sign.
Thank you.
Great. So it's been moved and seconded. Wait, we already made this.
No, go ahead.
So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
Just one item for council. Just wanted to kind of take this opportunity that we do have the Toast of Veterans event coming up on April 28th. This is a continuation of council's wishes to honor and actually potentially raise some meaningful dollars for the Lacey Veteran Services Hub. Tickets are still for sale. Not a lot of people have signed up. I'm somewhat implying or maybe urging council to share the word and using this as another format. But again, April 28th, 6:30 to 8 o'clock at the Lacey Community Center. Tickets are $50. And I think it's going to be a nice event. Again, it's more of like a toast and dessert. It's not a long event, but again, it's to honor our veterans. So I just want to share that. Once we get more printed cards, we'll give those to council to distribute.
So I have one quick question about that, which I've already signed up, but will there be an ask in the middle of that?
There will, or towards the end.
Okay.
Yes.
Great, thank you. And you've just taken the Community Relations and Public Affairs Committee's report away from them. Nice job there, City Manager.
I figured the signature, so I was only taking that.
So if,
Well, there's a couple of things we could add to it. If you
yeah,
want.
so it would.
My apologies.
Yeah, no problem. Community Relations. So does someone from the Community Relations want to repeat that? Great.
Thank you, Mayor and City Manager. I can add to what was already said that the city has established a fundraising goal of $16,000 at this event, which is why it's really important that we get lots of people there. We've budgeted $36,000, and we're reaching out for sponsors in the community. So if you or someone you know might like to help out with this, that would be great. And our mayor will MC the event. So, and the keynote speaker will be Judge Brett Buckley. And we'll have entertainment provided by violinist Kathleen Scarborough. Isn't it just sounding like a better and better night?
I would add that Councilmember Cox was more eloquent than I.
Oh, nice save, nice save. And it sounds like the Sunrise Lions are going to be the bartenders again at this event. Is that true?
I'll defer to.
What?
Sorry.
Rebuilding. Yeah, that's right. Rebuilding Together is going to be the perfect. Great. Thank you. Thank you. Nice save. So next we're on to boards, commissions, and committee reports. I'm first. So the Mayor's Forum did meet earlier this month. This was the first time the mayors have met where it's just the mayors, actually. I think I reported on that out earlier. And this time around, we actually had a presentation from TCOM. We've been filled in on the upcoming need for TCOM to upgrade really their entire radio system. And this is something that we recently came into a major issue when we had the I-5 derailment of Amtrak, where Lacey Fire District 3 was the first on scene for that, and was really took the lead for the majority of that because they were able to be the quickest to the hospitals because the rest of the freeway was wide open south of that. Unfortunately, when they arrived right on the Pierce County border, Pierce County is on a completely different system. We're on the old system, they're on the new system, and we literally couldn't talk to someone 20 yards away. We had to have someone in a truck with the two systems, and we had to talk between them and had to distribute walkie-talkies at some point to help figure that out. So this is and I know Councilmember Greenstein is sort of leading the charge and is a big part of this. This is a big issue facing this county. This system is not going to be cheap to replace. Several years ago, we had a major update that needed to the system, and it was just, at the time, it was just a patch because we knew sooner or later there was going to be major upgrades. But at the time, there wasn't a lot of willingness to spend the type of money it was going to take to sort of go through the new system. I'm not even sure if the new system was even available then. I think it.
Most of the spending at that time actually wasn't on the radios. Yeah. It was on the telecommunication system for the 911 operators. Is the system that had been upgraded, and that was very expensive as well.
Yes.
And in fact, Lacey underwrote the loan that made it so TCOM can do that.
Yeah, that's right. And that loan is just already actually paid off here. So, yeah, this next year. And so we're basically faced with a couple scenarios here. I'm not sure if I should be talking about this. Lenny's probably is the expert on all this. But TCOM presented us with the three options that their study group has come up with. And we sort of took all that information in, and we know they have their sort of work cut out for them on making this the decisions on what needs to happen next. But it's countywide that we need to figure this out. So we're all in this together. It's not just the jurisdictions. It's all of the EMS, everyone that uses 911. A lot of people don't realize when you call 911 and you're calling, say, the police department. A lot of people think they're calling the police department. You're not. You're calling TCOM, and they refer to the police department or the fire department or whoever emergency there may be out there. You're calling TCOM. You're not calling that individual part, and a lot of people don't realize that. They think that whoever's picking that phone call up is from that agency that you're calling. That's not the case. So this is a real big issue. We had, I think, a pretty good conversation about it, and we're sort of going to wait. And everyone understands where you're at, and you have to figure it out. How you come up with the money. What's the final dollar amount you're going to need?
Neighborhood of $30 million.
$30 million.
And that's going to be the challenge. I mean, I think there's pretty wide agreement among all the jurisdictions and all of the different emergency responders that it's an absolute necessity. And I'm sure the chief could, talk more about that. But there's certain parts of the county where radio communication is just bad. And it's a dangerous situation for our first responders when they're out there because they don't have good radio communication to call for backup, to call for help. And it's an issue that has to be resolved, and it affects every person in Thurston County. So some way or another, we have to figure out how to come up with the $30 million. Yeah. That'll be the challenge.
Yep. So thank you. So that was the mayor's forum. Please.
This is a technical question, and forgive me if we're not prepared for it, but it seems like with all the cell technology that we have, that there might be a local band that we could use and hijack, legally that way. What do you know about that? What do you know about that?
There's a new program nationwide called FirstNet, and that deals with cell technology, which will help with our in-car computers and our cell phones during an emergency, and we are looking into joining that. But as far as radio communication, not a real techie, but I think that's completely different bandwidth and those types of things. And so there's a lot of difficulty. I don't think there's a perfect solution out there, from outlying areas to even in the city. Green buildings have a lot of infrastructure in them that are not real conducive to radio waves. So there's challenges that have to be met all over.
Interesting. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you. So next up is the Thurston County Shared Legislative Committee. I was actually went to the Thurston County Chamber's executive committees this morning to give a presentation on some of the challenges that we face in Lacey with a lot of development that we're seeing in our urban growth area. And it's been a long time since the city of Lacey and the Thurston County sort of worked together to update, to make sure all of our standards and all of our policies and procedures, everything was in line with each other. And we're seeing a lot of development that's currently happening in our urban growth area. And so the chamber was really interested in hearing about those issues. I think we've had a really good conversation about some possible ways we can work with Thurston County on helping solve some of this, so we can continue to see the right type of development happen within our urban growth area, with Lacey still being in control, a little bit better control of our design standards and how we see and how we'd like that urban growth area to grow. They said that they would be willing to facilitate a meeting with the Thurston County Commissioners or a Thurston County Commissioner to sort of enter into initial talks on how we can work together to address this major issue. And I said that I would be happy for them to help with that meeting, and they are in the process of trying to we'll reach out and hopefully set up a meeting where we can work together and talk through some of these major issues. And so that was my morning, and it was a good conversation, and I look forward to working with Thurston County, and hopefully we can come up with a solution there. So next is the Transportation Policy Board. We met bright and early yesterday morning at 7 a.m. We had a couple items on our agenda that were significant. First up was I was just talking about the I-5 derailment of Amtrak Cascade 501 that happened last December, December 18th. We had a member of WashDOT staff came there to sort of give us a debrief on sort of lessons learned from that incident, and sort of they believe it or not, WashDOT had some experience with an accident that had shut down that part of I-5 a couple years ago. It wasn't to this degree, obviously, where it was shut down for this long a period of time, but after that incident, there was some lessons learned that they immediately implemented this time around, and one of them was sort of the preferred alternate route that WashDOT was trying to get out there to the public on what to take. People from in this side, this region, we think the first thing you should do is the alternate route was to go through Yelm. That was not the preferred alternate route at all. That going that way meant many more hours of commute time compared to going around and through Shelton, around over the bridge and going through Shelton, which was the preferred route. It's interesting how much technology sort of has taken control of our lives. And the first thing that a lot of people did was get onto their smartphones and say, okay, which way should I go? And what WashDOT explained is some technology companies are better than others about updating that information. So they put their information out immediately to their contacts, but they didn't have a lot of success with them sort of following through with that. There was an app out there called Waze that was really on top of things, and immediately through their crowdsourcing and everything, they immediately said this was the preferred alternate route. And so if you happen to be on that technology, you saved a lot of time. If you're on Maps or something else, not so good. So they're continuing to learn from this lesson, and it was really interesting to hear WashDOT sort of go through this process of a major emergency like that. One thing that was interesting is I posed the question to WashDOT. I said, did you know that the contact between Thurston County and Pierce County, we weren't able to talk to each other, and they weren't aware of that, which is really surprising to me. I mean, granted, this is the main incident commander, so he should have, you would think, would have known that there was a communication breakdown right there, but didn't. And so the question is what is the state's role in making sure that the State Patrol can continue to communicate with other agencies, along the I-5 corridor or other highways that intersect Thurston County. That was something new to them, at least to this person, and so I suggested that maybe the state has a role in making sure that we can talk to each other in the future, and so maybe that will go someplace. Who knows? So the next item on our agenda was our RTIP amendment. Every time there's sort of new monies allocated, it needs to go through Transportation Policy Board for approval. This one is for the Intercity Transit, a bus replacement. And so every sort of region is dedicated some money for replacements for their buses. This is new money that's come along. I think the price tag on this was $668,000, and it doesn't even buy one bus. So something along those lines. So that is just something that just shocks you every time you hear it. And the other item that I think is important is that we had a debrief of the Thurston Thrives Active Community Design event where the city of Lacey participated along with the other jurisdictions on looking at the ability to create safe and convenient and abundant opportunities to be physically active. This is a big initiative that Thurston Thrives is undertaking. They asked if South County, Lacey, Tumwater, Olympia could sort of talk about what we've been working on to make sure we have a healthy community. And the City of Lacey participated in this with our pedestrian and bicycle plan. Ryan Andrews went and talked. It sounded like there was a lot of great communication that happened between the jurisdictions. And this is an area where actually Thurston County has made a ton of progress when it comes to being a healthy community. just I think it was just less than 5 years ago. If you look at what makes this a healthy community, Thurston County was not in a good position, and now we have made a lot of progress. And talking to Thurston Thrives, it's really this coordination that's happening between the jurisdictions and nonprofits, and all sort of being on the same page of what makes a healthy community. And so it was interesting to hear about all the progress that they've made. And that is my report. So next up is the Deputy Mayor.
So JASCOM, Joint Animal Services Commission, met April 5th, and we had a presentation on the data analysis report that was done for the commission by Creative Catalyst analyst Kathleen Olson. And the report gives a comprehensive look at national sheltering trends and then our own demographics and so forth. It was quite comprehensive. This will help us prepare for the future animal shelter and services needs. We had a presentation by the Thurston County Emergency Management explaining what is done when there is an emergency and what you do with animals, and including livestock rescues. And most pets are, they try to rescue with their owners, if at all possible. That isn't always the case, though. What is needed by EMT, the emergency management, is buildings with generators when there is an emergency. That's one of those critical issues, so that they have a place to put both the animals and people. We also had an update by our supervisory field service officer on the seizure of illegal exotics, and there were quite a few exotics that were seized, and apparently this is not a singular case by the violator. It's happened other places as well. Most of the animals have been sent to areas where they can care for them because JASCOM can't. And then our MOA with the Joint Base Lewis McChord has been finalized and is now in effect. And today we had an auditor's office exit conference meeting, which took place right here, actually. And JASCOM was given a clean bill of health, of audit review, so that's good. Not a clean bill of health, but audit. So next, LOT met yesterday, April 11th, and the work session, basically we went over this background of our strategic plan, just so that the new members would have some idea of how we came to that part of it. We're starting our 6-year plan again, so they wanted to put some background there for the 3 that were fairly new with the board. And actually, it was a very good background report, so I'm hoping that part of this, when they come to us to give their annual report, they can incorporate some of that with what I heard. The Environmental Planning and Communications Director passed out our MPDES permit document for the Buddy Inlet Water Reclamation Facility, and which has been tentatively approved by Ecology on February 16th. And I say tentatively because there's a 30-day appeal deadline from when it was issued. So my assumption it'll shortly be finalized. It did have a few more requirements, mostly in monitoring certain parameters. And then our business meeting, we approved a water quality and habitat improvement project that was brought to us by the Capital Land Trust with the approval of Squaxin Island Tribe. And this project helps to show the tribe that LOT wants to be responsible for their impairment to Buddy Inlet, and has signed an agreement in the past that states we will try to find projects that will improve water quality. And in this instance, it was the Middle Deschutes River, and with a conservation purchase. And the grant was for the Salmon Recovery Funding Board was $150,000, and they were asking us for $400,000 for lot, but for this year we didn't quite have that much in our budget, so we asked if they would take $222,000, which they said they could make phase one work instead of purchasing 76 acres, they were going to purchase 56 acres with one landowner rather than two, and then hopefully find additional funds later for phase two to purchase another, the extra 20 acres plus 144 acres in addition. The motion passed by the board 3-1. All the boards suggested we have a clear policy with criteria of how we spend rehabilitation money, which we hope will add credit. And we hope that by doing these things, will add credit as mitigation when we update our MPDES permit. The couple simple things, we had a hearing on surplus equipment. No one testified, and so then after the close of the hearing, we allowed the executive director to surplus the equipment. And then lastly, we had a presentation on Lotswell City Award and what they did to earn the award. The Olympic Region Clean Air Agency also met yesterday in the morning, and we approved an amended bylaws. There were just minor changes, but we did add a section that specified when the laws will be reviewed, clarified ad hoc committees representation, and more significantly, stated that board members needed to be in attendance at least 50% of the time, and will only use the call-in capability when there is an extenuating circumstances. And remember, this is a 6-county board, so for a while there, people would come very faithfully, but then all of a sudden, when the change of representatives turned over, there was a few that just were calling in, and it's a little hard to have extra debates and stuff when they're just on the phone. We reviewed a gasoline station rule proposal, which would ease mom and pop gas stations, and basically they wouldn't have an extensive operations and maintenance plan written up, but they would still need to have guidelines in place using other documents, and we'll take action on this next month. Another gasoline station rule proposal was establishing regulations by submitting a project notification instead of a notice of construction, which is a lot more comprehensive. Again, this will be taken up in May. And then Thurston County's air quality monitor in Lacey showed 28 good days of air quality for the month of February and 31 good days for March. And remember, the monitor looks at particulate matter of 2.5 microns in the air. We also had more discussion about the over-the-counter purple air monitor, and that is a monitor you can purchase online or sometimes in stores. And Dr. Hadley showed a graph of how it tracks good days, which it does really well with nethylometers. But when there are moderate or bad air quality days, it overcalculates by 2 to 3 times more than the Orca's nethylometer. So, and she said that one online personal monitor that you can buy is made in China and was calibrated to cigarette smoke, which isn't the size of ambient air quality particulate matter, and that's part of the problem. Cigarette smoke is 1 micron as opposed to 2.5, which is the bigger microns. But she wants to track it by over a year just to make sure that seasonal changes are consistent throughout. And They talked about a community toxic grant, which was obtained by ORCA, and working with the Evergreen State College students to do the project. I think I mentioned that, but she now has the monitors for the study, so the project can get started. And then she also gave a presentation to the Science Cafe at Lacey Library to get girls interested in science, which is pretty neat. So that's my report.
Great, thank you. That was the city manager's phone going off, not my phone, just in case anyone was wondering in here.
Oh, that's why I just zapped out and couldn't find my stuff.
Look, you're messing up the deputy mayor. You're messing up the deputy mayor.
It was my mother-in-law. I'm sure it's important. It really was. I don't believe it.
Councilmember Young.
Hi. So I will be reporting on the EDC tonight. We had a packed agenda at our last meeting on March 26th. We were first updated on the opportunity zones, which are, it was passed in the bill in December 2017, the Tax Cuts and Job Act bill. Basically, the Opportunity Zone program is designed to infuse capital gains investment into economically disadvantaged areas throughout the U.S. So the governor will be passing on the selections for Washington State onto the Department of the Treasury. And the opportunity zones that Thurston County has selected, 2 of them won't have to compete. They can be pushed right through to the program. And that's downtown Olympia and Lacey in the Woodland Square Loop. And then 2 of the census tracts that were selected actually have to compete, so it's not guaranteed that they'll be in the program. And those 2 tracts are Tenino and Bucota in the Agricultural Industrial Park. And then the other one is Grand Mound census tract. There will be 8,700 opportunity zones throughout the U.S., so we'll see how that goes. And then Josh Cummings from Thurston County came and gave an economic update. Basically, they're trying to get feedback from citizens in Thurston County based on the feedback or the direction of the commissioners and wanting to really streamline the county government and any regulatory changes. They also have a budget calculator on their website now, which allows citizens to provide comments about the new upcoming budget. So I wanted to share that with you guys, thought that was interesting. And then the EDC Gala is next Friday, April 20th. They're still looking for sponsors. It will be at Indian Summer. There were 65 nominations for the Business Awards this year, so it should be interesting to see who wins. And then the director of the EDC, as well as some of the people on the board, went to China to make more relationships and try to get more trade going on in Thurston County and investment. And they said it was a really successful trip, but they're going to debrief more with us at the next meeting. There's a lot of interest in investing in Thurston County from China, so that's exciting. And then it was decided at the meeting that the Thurston Energy Program, which the EDC has been managing for TCAT, the Thurston Climate Action Team, it's going to be conveyed back to Thurston Climate Action Team because it's a financial burden on the EDC. So we did vote and approve that conveyance. And then lastly, I just wanted to say thank you to the council and the city of Lacey for supporting the Scale Up program, because I was invited to speak at one of their classes this morning, and it was expressed to us how grateful they are. They're actually having their meetings at City Hall. So thank you guys for all the support. It means a lot to them. And that's my report.
If I may, Mr. Mayor. I took that survey from the county, and I think it's a really unfair way of, I mean, you get public input, yes, but that's like asking us, what's the majority of our budget? Well, it's public works, or it's our police department. And when you break that down, the majority of that is labor. And so most of the public doesn't realize what labor costs and how much percentage of it is budget-wise. So yeah, if you take that survey without that having in mind, you're basically saying you should spend more money in this area or in this area. Well, I mean, a lot of those factors are already, you know, that it's misinforming the public, I believe. So it's a little critical, but I didn't like it. I took the survey anyways, and so I felt like I needed to comment on that.
Thank you. I've heard similar views, council members, so I understand where you're coming from on that. It's so tough to do these surveys.
Mr. Mayor, real quick.
Sure.
Don't take this the wrong way. The county has its challenges just like we do as a city.
Mm-hmm.
It's just most of the public, I believe, doesn't understand how much labor costs are involved, and so that should be there should be outreach before you do a survey like that.
Fair enough. Next up is Councilmember Greenstein.
Thank you. So all of my committees, actually primary committees, meet next week, but I did want to report quickly on a subcommittee that I'm on, which actually met this afternoon. The EMS Council has put together a committee for coming up with a comprehensive plan. It's basically to plan the next 20 years of how emergency medical services will be provided in Thurston County. Today's meeting, we focused on coming up with a mission and vision statement. Doesn't sound like a lot to do in one meeting, but if you've ever been involved in the process of coming up with mission statements or vision statements, can take an enormous amount of time. We actually got them both completed in one meeting, which I thought was pretty good. So the mission statement for this comprehensive plan committee is to undertake a comprehensive evaluation of emergency medical services in Thurston County over the next 20 years and recommend how to most effectively and efficiently deliver these services. Pretty simple, straightforward mission, but I think it gets to the point of why this committee was formed. Similar on the vision, also very streamlined and simple. The vision is to come up with a seamless, now if I could read my own handwriting would be in good shape, a seamless emergency medical system for Thurston County as an outgrowth of the current delivery system. So again, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. The next meeting will be focused on coming up with actual goals and then forming subcommittees to actually do the groundwork to come up with the information to meet those goals. So it's going to be a long process. We look at it and going through about August of next year is the goal to have it finished. But interesting process, and should be a lot to report on as we go through the months on this. So that is my report.
Thank you. Up next is Councilmember Hearn.
So LTAC meets next week, Lodging Tax Advisory Committee. Experience Olympia meets next week. The Thurston County Coalition Against Trafficking has a promo for the race against trafficking, which you've heard a lot about. And we'd like to have Troy play that for us tonight.
Join us on Saturday, April 28th at Mountain View Church in Tumwater for the 5K race against trafficking. Walk or run, but please join us in the fight against human trafficking. This event is brought to you by Washington Trafficking Prevention. Learn more at traffickingprevention.org/TCCAT.
Thank you.
Great. And next up is Councilmember Stedman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Lacey South Sound Chamber met the first Wednesday of the month. I unfortunately didn't make it because I was on the flight with past President Madeline White, and we flew in late, and then of course baggage, and then trying to make the southbound I-5. But I know, besides me, the only person that attends more than me would be the deputy mayor, and.
So I will give I will give a brief update. We had our very own City of Lacey Director of Community Economic Development, Rick Walk, give a presentation and answer questions, and WashDOT project engineer Kim Mueller. And what she ended up talking about was the divergent diamond, which always is a good topic to remind people that it's going to start pretty soon and to kind of get yourself used to that. Rick Walk talked about at least several projects, but I think a couple that stand out was he did bring in some of the what is happening around Woodland District, as well as the community outreach for the Depot District. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Madam Deputy. Thank you, Madam Deputy. And other than that, Solid Waste Advisory Committee meets next week, and that's my report.
And next up is Councilmember Cox.
All righty. I covered for Councilmember Young on Monday with the Community Investment Partnership meeting. This meeting was primarily about getting prepared to evaluate all the applications for the funding that we have to give this year to cover basic critical needs in our community. We're looking at between 154 and 160,000 total revenue, and there are lots and lots of applicants. So we'll be going through a scoring process on that. I think the total requests are $474,000. So you can see, you know, there's going to be some tough calls to make. One thing we also agreed on, we're going to host what's called a funders conference on April 30th. It's going to be from 3 to 5 p.m. at the Thurston County Health Department. And it's an opportunity for decision makers and organizations that actually, you know, put up the funding for these sorts of things, and then the organizations that would be distributing funding to come together, talk about what their challenges are, what their successes are, and it should be an interesting project. And then on May 14th, the Community Investment Partnership will meet again. This will be from 8 to 12 to look at the scores that the individual members assigned and come to an agreement on, finally, on how our money is to be distributed. So stay tuned on that. It's quite a process. The Community Action Council met on March 28th, and the biggest news out of that was that the agency got through its audit just fine. There were absolutely no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses identified. And this audit tracks the handling of all these grants that go through the Community Action Council to serve the various clients they have. And then we heard a little bit more about the Monarch fundraising breakfast that's coming up next week on the 17th. This will help to fund a new building for this Monarch Children's Program, which will be right next door to the Community Action Council building out in Hawks Prairie. So it's a tall order because the cost of this new building is going to be $1.7 million. So we need everybody who can come and be with us to be there. It's been a busy week. I also went to Intercity Transit last week, and let me get to that real quick. Sorry. We heard about the bicycle commuter challenge. It's got a very fun theme this year. It's called "The World Looks Different When You Bike." I bet Mr. Egger can relate to that, right? All righty. There will be the Earth Day Market Ride is coming up on April 21st in Olympia. They'll be gathering at the fountain at Heritage Park and heading down to the farmers market. We also heard reports about some of the accessible transportation options that Intercity Transit offers. Most of us are probably familiar with the Dial-A-Lift program, but there is another program called Bus Buddies that helps people who might have difficulties riding the bus for one reason or another, but who have some mobility and aren't like totally wheelchair bound. They'll assign somebody to go with that person and literally get them from home to their destination and then help them with the return trip back, which is really nice. It takes some of the pressure off the Dial-a-Lift program, and it actually gives more freedom to people who might otherwise be intimidated by riding the bus. There's also a bus education, travel training program that is for high school kids. It's for people new to the community. It can be for our senior citizens, but basically it's a tutoring on how to ride the bus. And it may sound a little silly, but it can be a little complicated figuring out how to get from point A to B to C and then get yourself back home again and do it in a reasonable amount of time. So great programs. Let's see. They are coming right along on the Patterson Street project with the tank project is substantial completion in mid-May, and they hope to finish it in June. Let's see. I don't want to get into too much more detail, so let's let IT sit there. Thurston Regional Planning Council met on this past Friday, and a couple of things of note. The board passed a resolution in support of the Thurston County Economic Alliance program. We also did an evaluation of our executive director, Mark Daly, and in general, everybody was quite pleased with his performance, and he got a one-time merit pay raise of 3% and applause from the council. He's just been on the job for 1 year, and it's really remarkable how much progress he's made and how far things have come. The highlight of the meeting was the presentation from Roger Millar, who's Secretary of WashDOT, and he has some really interesting ideas on our transportation needs. And basically, his bottom line is, our bottom line isn't working. Each year the state spends only half of what it would need to even maintain the current system, much less keep up with future growth and demand. We're spending $550 million, and we'd need over $1.1 billion a year. So he is wanting to look for more creative solutions on that. And then finally, the Ad Hoc Committee on Homelessness and Affordable Housing met right before this council meeting tonight, and we're going to be seeking a meeting with the full county commission rather than Commissioner Blake, as has been proposed to us. And our goal still is to look at all the funding sources for affordable housing and serving homelessness, look at the agreements that have historically been in place on who makes the decisions, but what the city's role in doing that is, and trying to get things back on track at least next year so that everybody's comfortable with how we're doing this, and we truly have a regional approach on addressing homelessness and affordable housing in our cities. So, thank you for bearing with me. That was a lot of reports.
If I may, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I'm a private sector board member on Community Action Council with Carolyn, and I'm really excited for Community Action Council to be under one roof with the WIC program and Monarch, and there's even going to be a small precinct there for Lacey Police Department, which is awesome. So yeah, I just wanted to make that comment.
Great. We've reached the end of our agenda. We're going to be adjourning to a work session to talk about our Public Parks survey. And so until next time, as always, you keep it classy, Lacey, and I'm going to call this meeting adjourned.